Hellboy, Strange Places. Welcome back to BK's Bolts. Today we're doing another review of a Hellboy book. This is Strange Places. These are the older graphic novel trade paperback collections. This is volume 6. I believe if you're in the newer ones, the omnibuses, I have the last two over here, Wild Hunt and Hellboy in Hell. This is probably in volume 2, I would guess, as it does take place directly after our last one, which was Conqueror Worm, in terms of like the ongoing story thing. And of Hellboy, at the end of Conqueror Worm, Hellboy leaves the BPRD and goes on his own adventure. And they ask him where he's going. Well, he goes where he goes in this book. So this book is a little short. It only contains 4 issues. It's 2 issues of a story called The Island, and then another story called, The Third Wish. So it takes place directly after Conqueror Worm, and they kind of run into each other as characters are introduced in The Third Wish that then appear in The Island, and you kind of get a more build up towards the finale of Hellboy, right? Towards his upcoming battle, I believe, with the Baba Yaga, the Wild Hunt storyline, Hellboy in Hell. Like, we're moving towards the finale of we're moving towards the climax of the Hellboy storyline with the Ogdru Juhad, his final destiny. You learn where the Right Hand of Doom came from in here, as opposed to in the Right Hand of Doom trade paperback. The actual origin is in here in the last story, The Island. When you're talking to this guy over here in red, that's pretty interesting. So all of it is written and drawn by Mike Mignola, and it's a phenomenal little trade. Like, I really enjoyed it. Even though these 2 stories are very small and short, they're still not as short as some of the other short stories we've read in other trade paperbacks together, but these do add substantially to the atmosphere of Hellboy, and just show Mignola's ability to tell small, well-crafted stories in 1 or 2 issues here that have big repercussions for Hellboy moving forward. So I think that's fun. And that's one of the fun things about Hellboy, is that when you're reading these books, at least in these collections, you're not always reading like a long arc. You're reading short little tidbits. And that's kind of why I liked, not only did I already have them, I didn't want to replace them, they still have the introduction at the beginning of each story here from Mike Mignola, just saying what the idea was here, this page of text, or what was updated, if anything was. Sometimes he updated them before he put them into trades. One of the things he talks about here before The Island is designing the story of the origin of the Ogdru Juhad and the Right Hand of Doom, and putting it into print before the first Hellboy movie came out. He realizes he was on set of the first Hellboy film with Guillermo del Toro, watching the Ogdru Juhad break free in some vision and stuff, and he's like, man, I haven't even done that in my comic books yet, showing what they look like. I better do that. So he comes back and does The Island, these 2 issues here in the back of this trade, to show that origin. It's kind of the same thing of Wolverine. They did X2, and they were going to do Wolverine's origin in that, and they were like, man, we really got to show what Wolverine's origin is in the comics to establish what it is before we let the movies do it for us, and then that's the origin everybody goes to. So it's just kind of similarity there in terms of Hellboy and Wolverine, right? So very interesting. But both of these are cool. I really like the first story the best, and this is The Third Wish. Mignola says it's kind of based on The Little Mermaid, Hans Christian Andersen. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the original fairy tale. I'm only familiar with the animated film from Disney. So here you have 3 mermaids coming down to the deeps of the sea, and Hellboy is there, and they're getting their wishes from this older, uglier mermaid, who I guess would be Ursula in this, Disney version or something like that. And she's tricking each one of them until finally Hellboy says, enough, I'm not putting up with this, and interferes with their ceremony, and then they have a battle, and then the final mermaid kind of sacrifices herself for Hellboy in order for him to get back to the surface, and that sets things in motion where you have Hecate visiting him in the following issue. I don't know if this is part of the island. Yeah, this is on the island. That next miniseries saying, hey, thank you for vanquishing that older mermaid thing down there. She was going to be in my way of killing you, and now that's reserved only for me. So it's all tying into the larger Hellboy mythos in terms of these big supernatural forces that are on the earth that are battling for control of, just the people on earth, the forces on earth, other supernatural beings battling for Hellboy, who gets to control him, who gets to kill him. Like, there's all these things moving around in the background of these Hellboy stories that are very interesting. Another thing we get is this little guy who's not named, but Hellboy meets him in Africa in the first issue of The Third Wish, and he gives him this little bell. So it seems like he's kind of his protector. And he's kind of talking to this other person at the end of the book here, another person we don't yet know the name of, but hopefully we will know their names in future volumes of Hellboy. So these little mysteries, these little characters standing on the corner, on the side, like watching over him and commenting on his adventures are all very interesting. So I'm excited to read more. So Hellboy, Strange Places, it's definitely not a must-read Hellboy read, just because it's not like the best thing you've ever read, but it is very solid, it is very good. And if you're interested in the ongoing Hellboy lore, I would not ignore the stories here in this trade paperback, The Third Wish and The Island. And because they tie in together and they're setting up things that hopefully will come in the future. I have not read past the next volume, Darkness Calls, so we're going to jump into that in our next Hellboy video, but I'm probably going to read it. I haven't decided if I'm going to read it as the single volume I have or jump into the big Wild Hunt trade paperback I have and do a video on that. I'll probably just do the fat one rather than the smaller one, because it makes more sense if I'm going to review the whole book that people can get now, to talk about the whole thing in context instead of just, oh, this contains 3 books and I'm going to talk about the last 2. So anyway, I'm excited to read that and jump into Hellboy's finale there and after. So and then I got BPRD to read after that, so that'll be fun. I got 3 of those here, and I think there's a 4th one coming out soon. I don't know if I'm going to order that one right away. I might jump into the first one, make sure I like it before I do. But anyway, Hellboy, still fun, still a lot of fun to read, still gorgeous artwork. Mike Mignola still drawing it. That's going to change with the next volume. We're going to talk about that in that video. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of Hellboy down below in the comments, and we will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.